One night, I was walking home after closing up the diner late at night. I hated working so late, but I needed all the money I could get for college. It was dark and foggy, which I found odd. Suddenly, as I was walking past an alley, someone touched my elbow. It was an old man. He smiled at me, but I honestly panicked when he reached into his pocket. I'm a tall guy, so I thought I could most definitely take him in a fight, but I didn't want to fight an old man. Before I continue, remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're the first to know when we release another awesome story. The old man reached into his pocket and pulled out a small piece of paper. He placed it in my hand, tipped his hat at me, and disappeared into the fog. I walked over to a street lamp and unfolded the small paper. It was a lottery scratcher. I chuckled, thinking some crazy old man just gave me his trash. But the ticket wasn't scratched. I reached into my pocket and grabbed one of the coins I got in tips that night. I used the coin to scratch the ticket and shook my head, thinking I was seeing things. It said I had won $1 million, but nah, it couldn't be, right? That only happens to the luckiest of the lucky, plus some sketchy old dude gave it to me. It's probably a fake. I shoved the ticket in my pocket and laughed at myself for believing it was real for a second. I threw my jacket on my nightstand when I got home and fell asleep as soon as my head hit the pillow. The next morning, I saw the ticket as soon as I opened my eyes because it fell out of my jacket and was right next to me. I put it against the light, seeping in through my curtains. Not gonna lie, it still looked kinda fake to me. After stretching, I walked numbly to the kitchen and made myself some breakfast. I was still looking at the ticket, mostly wondering why that old man gave it to me. Was he just trying to prank a kid? My gaze drifted towards the fruit bowl next to me. It was full of old scratchers that my mom had bought. She always had faith that we'd win something one day. I compared the scratcher to my mom's old ones. It started to look pretty real, but I still thought it was a prank. My mom then came into the kitchen. She was rubbing her eyes and yawning, but when she saw what I was holding in my hand, she jolted awake. "Is that? Let me see." She snatched it out of my hand. I tried to tell her it was fake, but she was already jumping and hugging me. I didn't want to break her heart. Without even finishing my breakfast, she pulled me out of the house and dragged me to the post office. She was friends with the lady who worked there and sold scratchers. She basically shoved the ticket in the lady's face, and I was about to tell her that it was fake when the lady screeched and started jumping up and down, congratulating my mom. My mom proceeded to say it was my ticket, not hers, and the lady instead came up to me and started squeezing my cheeks, calling me a very lucky young man. I was still in shock when she shipped the ticket off to redeem the prize, and even more in shock when we were actually called to redeem the prize and get my money. I just stood there, flabbergasted in front of the cameras, holding an enormous check for $1 million. My face was on the news next to the amount I had won. Everyone that knew me knew that I had just won a hell of a lot of money, but now I wish they hadn't known. When I went to school that Monday, I could immediately tell it was different. People swerved out of my way when I walked, or said hi to me when they had never done so before. My friends were actually very affectionate, which they weren't before. It took some getting used to, but after a few hours, I loved the attention. When my friends and I went to get lunch somewhere special, I paid, of course. I also paid for gas when we went to the beach, and for snacks too. I even rented a boat one time, and we went out to sea. My friend, Rachel, dropped her phone in the ocean, so of course I had to surprise her with a new one. My friend Malik needed a new laptop, so I bought him one. One time, I even paid for everyone's lunch in the school cafeteria. The lunch lady just shook her head at me. "They can afford their own stuff, you know. Don't let them take advantage of you, boy," she said, but I dismissed it. They were my friends. They wouldn't take advantage of me. I drove my friends to the mall one day and we spent hours shopping. First, we went to get video games for Jake. Then Rachel wanted a suitcase set, and Malik said he needed a suit, so we got that too. I got the rest of my friend's stuff as well. I just honestly can't remember what it was. I was basically just swiping my card left and right whenever they told me to. On the car ride back to their respective homes, I was waiting for them to thank me, but they never did. They were all on their phones or taking pictures of their new stuff, and they ignored me when I tried to strike up a conversation. I was kinda pissed off. Was that how parents felt? My friends barely even said bye when I dropped them off at their houses. What the hell? I was mad when I got home. I felt like my friends were just using me, exactly like the lunch lady said they would. I was in class a couple days later with my friends Rachel and Malik. I put my earbuds in and put my head down after telling them I had a headache and needed a nap. I didn't play music though. Instead, I listened in on their conversation. "You should just throw it in the bin or something, or just give it to someone else," Rachel said to Malik. "Yeah, I think I'll do that. Bet he'll get me a new one without a second thought," laughed Malik. When the bell rang for lunch, I yawned and pretended to scratch my eyes. I watched as Malik pretended to accidentally throw his phone in the garbage at the front of the classroom and snicker with Rachel. I was fuming. I fished it right out and pretended I saw nothing. I got to our cafeteria and found a distressed Malik and a worried Rachel along with our other oblivious friends. I calmly asked Malik what was wrong, and he went on a rant on how his parents were going to kill him because he lost his phone, pretending to hyperventilate. I put my hand on his shoulder to calm him down. Then, I pulled his phone out of my back pocket. "See, your parents won't kill you because you just threw it in the trash expecting me to buy you a new one." Then, I smashed his phone into the ground, and hearing the screen shatter, I said, "Damn, I guess they will kill you after all." And with that, I walked away. I distanced myself from everyone for a while. I ignored them in the halls and in class, and I blocked them on anything they could contact me through. They knew I needed the money to pay for college and for my siblings to also go to a good school, but they took advantage of me. It wasn't just my friends. If I went grocery shopping, people would pretend they forgot their cards and ask me to pay for them. I always pointed out that I could very clearly see their card in their back pocket, and then they'd mumble something about me being greedy. For real? Me? Greedy? Bold of them, honestly. I decided that I was going to stop paying for people's purchases and giving my money away to anyone, and would instead make it interesting. I delivered flyers all over the neighborhood and to everyone from school. The news of what I was organizing spread like wildfire. At the school's annual festival, I had a mini lottery. I was giving away a third of all the money I won with my lottery scratcher. The festival was bigger that year than ever before. There were over 100 people on school grounds, hoping to get a ticket and win some money. There were loads of tents with food and rides and booths for kids. As I walked around, I could tell people were buzzing with excitement, as they should, because they all thought they were gonna win. I left notes with people when I delivered flyers or told them in person that they were going to win. I told everyone that if they kept it to themselves, I would give them the winning ticket. Finally, the time came for the raffle. People gathered in the football field, and I went around with a bag full of little tickets with numbers on them. I personally passed them out to people and smiled sheepishly at them as they winked at me or shook my hand, thanking me in advance. The last person who got a ticket was Marie Ann, the lunch lady. Her ticket, however, didn't come from the bag. It came from my pocket. She looked tired of having worked all day long. She sat down, and I saw her rubbing her knee. "That knee still bothering you, Marie Ann?" I asked. "Yeah, the doctor said it's pretty bad," she responded, deflated. I then walked up to the podium and tapped the mic. I made a little speech just to excite everyone more. And then I announced the numbers on the winning ticket. 7, 3, 9, 2. Everyone was quiet. I heard some little "what?" and curses, and then came a shrill scream and a laugh. Marie Ann was holding the winning ticket high in the air. I guess the adrenaline numbed her knee for a second because she managed to run all the way up to the podium and showed me her ticket. I smiled wide and shook her hand. "It's what you deserve," I said to her. People around us started booing me, so I turned back to the mic and said, "Every single one of you started taking advantage of me when I won my money. She is the only one who didn't change. All of you should be ashamed of yourselves." 2 days later, I was closing up the same diner. I kept my job because that one was fun, and some extra money never hurt anyone. I started walking my normal route, but I felt some tingling in the back of my neck when I approached the alley. Suddenly, the old man walked out of it slowly, and I was face to face with him. The man started coming at me, so I squared up. But to my surprise, he hugged me. He hugged me tight, and it didn't feel weird at all for some reason. "I knew you would do the right thing," he said to me, patting me on my cheek. His hand was oddly cold. I was still thinking about this encounter with the man when I arrived at home. For some reason, my eyes drifted towards the photo albums in my bookshelf. I never looked through those. I grabbed one that seemed to stand out. I looked through it absent-mindedly, but a picture stood out. It was me as a baby, and I was on the shoulders of a man I had never seen before. That's when it hit me. The old man was my grandpa. The grandpa who had passed away when I was very young. When I tell people this story, they get scared. But honestly, all I feel is warmth and happiness.